Alright, we'll go into this some more. I proof watched my video. And so, we're going into, back into, viable, healthy alternatives. And okay, so I have to make some disclaimers. First of all, this video is for my entertainment and educational purposes only. Any and everything I say could be wrong. Do your own research and come to your own conclusions. So viable, healthy alternatives. Okay. I'm not like shifting my focus to viable, healthy alternatives to mock the idea of viable, healthy alternatives. But like, as I said in my previous video, nobody's interested in viable, healthy alternatives. All people are interested in is that their own wants and their own individual wants and needs be met. And see, that's an unhealthy, that's not a viable, healthy alternative. It is not viable and healthy to be selfish and self-interest, no, the viable, healthy alternative is to think of others. That's what it is. See, but you see, this is obvious that nobody cares about this. Okay, I've brought up this quote many times since I discovered this quote. I don't even know who said it, and I don't care, because it's not about who said it. It's about what is it saying, not who said it. I don't care. Even a liar can make a true statement. A liar will use a true statement to propagate or further their own deceitful agenda. They do it all the time. So it doesn't matter who speaks the truth. What matters is the truth that was spoken, okay? And I honestly don't know who this quote came from, but the quote is as follows. It says the following. This is what it says. It says, "The short-sighted embark on the dishonest path, the wise on the honest path, because the wise know the truth, that in helping others we help ourselves, and in hurting others we hurt ourselves." Again, the truth. The truth means responsibility. The wise know the truth, that in helping others we help ourselves, in hurting others we hurt ourselves. The truth. The truth means responsibility. That's why everybody hates the truth, because nobody wants to think of other people and help other people. Those people just brought their misery on themselves. The only reason they need help is because they're poopy poops. See, that's how this whole fucking thing works. That is how the whole story narrative works. Is just ignore those people over there. They're poopy poops. They brought it on themselves. Don't help them. Help us. We're the ones that need help because we're the good guys. We're the innocent victims of the scamdemics. Those people over there, they're not innocent victims. They're poopy poops that brought it on themselves. Meh. This is how it all works. How often do you see anything other than that? Look around you. What do you see? People breaking off into warring factions, each group saying to the other, "We're right and you're wrong." You got to think of it in thirds. Top 10, middle 80, and the lowest 10. What do you look around? What do you see? People breaking off into warring factions, top 10%, middle 80%, lowest 10%, each group saying to the other, "We're right and you're wrong." For example, I can show you like really compelling evidence that the lowest 10%, they are being unconstitutionally policed. Their constitutional rights are being violated constantly. But what good is compelling evidence if you show it to an ignorant person or people. The top 10% pays the middle 80% to trample the lowest 10%. And I could provide compelling evidence to show this, but you cannot convince a person of a thing when their paycheck is dependent upon them being ignorant of it. It's like if I'm in the top 10%, right? And I'm going to pay 50% of the people to kill the other 50%. You can't convince a person of a thing when their paycheck is dependent upon them being ignorant of it. Like if I'm paying 50% of the people to kill the other 50%, do you think those people getting paid are going to want to hear how they shouldn't be killing the other 50%? No. No. And it doesn't matter. I could have proof. Do you think that they're interested in the proof of that truth? No. Because they're getting paid, bro. Anyways, yeah, no, like I've been doing the channel, the Angry Hobo thing. I've been doing it, since 2015 or 16. And I'm pumping videos. Dude, people can't stand that I pump out videos. They're like, oh, I'm unsubscribing from this guy. Fuck this guy. I am tired of seeing this dude posting these same video every fucking, dude, that's all he talks about, man. Fuck this guy, dude. Yeah, let's tune into Richie from Boston, right? Or the Corbett Report, or True Stream Media, or Crow House, or fucking, dude, total unbelievable garbage, And then these people that try to convince me that that's not garbage, dude, they're the Corbett Report, True Stream Media, Crow House, Richie from Boston, they're all saying the same story. The evil top 10% are victimizing the innocent, hardworking middle 80%, while the lowest 10% are running around stealing cookies and bicycles. They're all saying the same fucking thing. And what would be the motive? Why would someone like Crow House, for example, do this? Well, because the middle 80% is his audience. It's the same reason that mainstream media, the same reason that mainstream media's target audience is the middle 80%, is the same reason that Crow House's target audience is the middle 80%. Jack off the middle 80% all fucking day. Why do you think mainstream media jacks the middle 80% off all day? Why do you think so? Because that's where the greatest returns, gains, profits come from, is the middle 80%. But Crow House is somehow, even though Crow House is saying the same story, the evil top 10%ers are at it again, you guys. We need to talk about the Jews every video, 2-hour video every day, all day. It's all the Jews because the Jews are the evil top 10%ers and they're just victimizing all of us middle 80%ers. I'm Crow House and I'm just a victimized middle 80%er like you. We are all strong. We are all the great ones. We need to all stand up against those evil top 10%ers because we are all being victimized by them in the damn pandemics, Jewish pandemics. Why do you think his target audience is the middle 80%? Because that's where the money's at, baby. Don't you get it yet? Are you fucking that dense? Does it really, really? See, and that goes back to the thing. You can't convince a person of a thing. Ignorance is bliss. These middle 80%ers are addicted to it's like, have you ever heard of the term codependency? Codependent relationships. This is like the exact identical. This is totally identical to a fucking extremely unhealthy codependent relationship. Think of it like this. Instead of thinking it in terms of the top 10% and middle 80% and the lowest 10%, think of it in terms of, okay, the guy, you have a romantic relationship, and the guy is the top 10%er in the relationship. And the female is the middle 8, represents the middle 80%. And the guy who's the top 10%, he's always telling the woman how she's just wonderful. Even though let's say she's not. Let's say she's like, what? Let's say neither of them are. The guy and the chick are like totally, they're both just toxic, right? But then they're always like, oh, you're so great. Oh, man. Oh, gosh, golly gee. Isn't this wonderful? Isn't our relationship just wonderful? When they're like cheating on each other and lying to each other, but they're always saying how wonderful they are. Like the guy is always telling the chick how wonderful she is, even though he's like fucking a bunch of other chicks, and then when he talks to these other chicks that he's fucking, he's like telling them how his girlfriend is a fucking retard, booger eating, drooling, fucking dumb cunt, But then when he's with her, he's like, dude, you are so, oh baby, please baby, oh baby, put this ring on, baby. And then the woman is like, she's cheating too for what, maybe she's found some other guy top 10%er, and so she's fucking him. And this is like extremely toxic, codependent garbage relationship. That's the relationship that the top 10% has with the middle 80%. It's extremely codependent. It's just pure shit, dude. It's like, it's terrible. It's terrible. They're always fighting, arguing. Well, you're sending all that money, and I think that money should go here. When really the chick just wants it for herself. But she's trying to say that money that's his or whoever's money, it doesn't even matter. Who deserves, who's the king of pain that deserves all the money, you guys? Well, of course it's the middle 80%ers, man. But anyways, I forgot what my point is, why I turned the camera on. Oh, well, okay. Viable, healthy solutions. Do people want viable, healthy solutions? No. Just like when if I use like an alcoholic or a drug addict as an example, it's not to condemn that person, but you got to look at it realistically. If a person has been a chronic alcoholic for several decades, the viable, healthy solution is the painful one. That's the painful. The viable, healthy solution is going to require the alcoholic to go through a bunch of detox. If the viable, healthy solution for an alcoholic is to detox off of alcohol, that's not going to be very pleasant, is it? That's why an alcoholic continues to drink. Is to avoid the pain of withdrawals from alcohol. So the viable, healthy alternative in that is to suffer the pain of withdrawal from alcohol. And that's not easy. I got nothing but heart, man. I feel for the guy who the healthy alternative is to suffer withdrawal, painful withdrawal from alcohol addiction. Like, I'm not mocking that person and people die from alcohol withdrawal. What, you're just going to sit there and laugh at a person as they die from alcohol withdrawal? That's not very cool, bro. Like, how are you any different than the fucking Fauci and Bill Gates and all these, the Jew? You're just like them. If you're going to laugh at some, anyways, whatever, bro. I mean, honestly, like, it's like, what do you, but yeah, viable, healthy alternatives, man. Nobody wants the truth. This is just goes back to everything I've been saying. The truth is viable, healthy alternatives. But I don't know if you've noticed, the truth isn't very popular. You know, the truth is viable, healthy alternatives is the truth, is where the truth is at. You know, but the truth means responsibility. That's why everybody hates it. That's why nobody truly wants viable, healthy alternatives. They just want to be told how hardworking they are and how innocent they are and how victimized they are by the scamdemic and how the justice for them is coming and how terrible it is that those people keep eating the EBT cookies and how terrible it is those people keep stealing their bicycles out of their bag. It's all this. It's really disgusting, bro. This is a sick fucking society, bro. You know, sick, very fucking sick. And I mean, I don't mean to be like the doomsayer. I mean, of course, the glass is half empty or half full. Anyways, I was going to talk about something and I forgot. It had to do with viable, healthy alternatives, but then I forgot what I was going to say. So I might just end it, But really, how, dude, I just don't know what to do because I can't convince any of these people that this story is stupid. They're just gonna. It's like an addict or alcoholic that I can't convince them that there's a better way. Trust me, bro. Dude, I've spent over 2 decades working with addicts and alcoholics, trying to bring the truth to the addict and alcoholic that there's a easier, softer way, there's a better way. And the majority of the time, and even though what I'm telling is the truth, when I'm telling the addict and alcoholic that it's easier, softer, it's better to go through the withdrawals and get off that shit and not look back. I'm telling them the truth, In a general way, I'm telling them the truth, but you can't reach, and that's what I'm saying. The dilemma with the middle 80%, they're addicts. They're addicted to being showered with accolades of praise and constantly told that that the middle 80% are all innocent victims that are just hardworking, innocent victims whose tax dollars are being stolen and shit. And and like I said, like I can show how the lowest 10% are constantly being victimized with unjust laws, and I mean they're way, dude. If you think it's hard being middle 80%er, go try living in the lowest 10% world. You wouldn't last a day, dude. If you're complaining about all this stupid fucking first world fucking faggot shit and you're in the middle 80%, you wouldn't last a day living in the world of the lowest 10%. You wouldn't last. And meanwhile, these lowest 10%ers, they're surviving all of this insane shit and they never get any attention. The only attention they get is just dump more shit on them. Oh, those shitty poopy poops. But yet, whose complaints are listened to? The middle 80%. It's always the same. Anyway, and so this is not, if you're looking for the truth, this whole story is not the truth. It is the big lie. That the top 10% are oppressing the innocent, hardworking middle 80%, and the middle 80% are all the innocent, hardworking people. Meanwhile, the lowest 10% are the evil sinners that are stealing the EBT cookies and shit. Like, and as I said in my last video, this is all anyone's talking about in any and all platforms. It doesn't matter YouTube, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, Facebook, mainstream media. It's all the same story, dude. And what I want to challenge the viewer. Find anybody that's saying what I'm saying. Find anybody. One person that's saying what I'm saying. That's been doing a channel trying to expose this lie. Find one person that's trying to expose this lie. That's criticizing the middle 80% and saying the middle 80% are not just the innocent, hardworking victims of this. This is a lie. This is just as big of a lie as Black Lives Matter. The statement Black Lives Matter is a lie. If all lives matter, then the statement Black Lives Matter is a lie. Half-truths are lies. That the middle 80% are the ones deserving of justice is a lie, because it's a half-truth. The lowest 10% are far more deserving of justice than the middle 80%. And what would justice look like if the lowest 10% got justice? Oh, dude, the middle 80% would all be fucking eaten out of dumpsters right with the lowest 10% if the lowest 10% got justice. If the lowest 10% got justice, that would be all the middle 80% would all be getting unconstitutionally policed, just like the lowest 10% are. The middle 80% would all be eating out of dumpsters. It would be illegal for them to sleep, to stand still, to sit down, and then they would all be getting demonized by media all the time. All be getting criticized of how they're all just a bunch of lazy, mentally ill, drug addicted, criminal, vagrant, degenerate. And dude, this is the thing. This is the problem. That's what the whole World Economic Forum is about, is driving the middle 80% into their pods where they will own nothing and be happy. That sounds a lot like what the lowest 10% lives right now and has all this time. The lowest 10% owns nothing and is expected to be happy. And the World Economic Forum's plan is for all the rest of the middle 80% to live just like the lowest 10% does. Well, see, that's starting to resemble what justice would look like for the lowest 10%. Is let all these middle 80%ers get a taste of what it's like to be in the lowest 10%. And then let's hear what they have to say. Because all these middle 80%ers, they're all the experts, right? They're all the experts on everything. Yeah. Let these middle 80%ers live a day in the life of the lowest 10%. And then let's hear what they're all going to say online. Like, go online and talk about it. Talk about what it's like to live in the lowest 10%. Oh, you're all going to demand justice then, I guarantee it. If the middle 80% had to live the same as the lowest 10%, then they're going to really have something to complain about, And that's what the top 10% is. Top 10% is Big Brother, is Daddy, your daddy, And what does your daddy say when you're crying? I'll give you something to cry about. Well, that's what the top 10% is saying to the middle 80%. It's because the top 10% is not stupid. The top 10% knows exactly what's going on with the lowest 10%. The top 10% knows that the lowest 10% are the most oppressed people in the world. But the top 10% keeps telling the middle 80% that the middle 80% are the ones that are being oppressed by the scamdemics and the plandemics and all this shit. But see, the top 10% is not stupid. You don't underestimate the intelligence of the top 10%. The top 10% knows that there is no group of people more oppressed than the lowest 10%. You think that the top 10% is so stupid that they don't know that? And if you agree with me that, yeah, the top 10% knows the truth about that, sure. Okay. Well, I mean, then why would the top 10% listen to the middle 80% complain about anything? When the top 10% knows that if anybody has a right to complain about anything, it's the lowest 10%. So the top 10% is never going to listen to the complaints of the middle 80%. No matter how much the top 10% pretends to listen to the complaints of the middle 80%, the top 10% is not stupid. The top 10% knows that nobody has more of a right to be complaining about anything than the lowest 10%. Now, if you're able to listen to me say all this without turning the channel off, like, fuck this, I'm not listening to this, is a bunch of gobbledygook. If you're able to listen this far, you know I'm right. Nobody has more of a right to complain than the lowest 10%. And if that's the truth, why would anybody even waste a second of their time listening to the complaints of the middle 80%? Why would anybody care? Least of all, the top 10%. You think the top 10% is going to listen to you guys complain of how your tax dollars should not be going to Israel? See, but the game is always the same. The top 10% pretends to care about the middle 80%. The top 10% pretends to listen to the middle 80%. But, you got to stop assuming that the top 10% is as stupid as the middle 80%. The top 10% knows there's no one that has more to complain about than the lowest 10%. If anybody has a right to complain, it's the lowest 10%. And the top 10% knows this. They know the truth. Does the middle 80% know? Look, I'm going to give you some intelligence. I'm going to tell you, the middle 80% knows that the lowest 10% have more of a right to complain than the middle 80%. The middle 80% knows this, but the middle 80% pretends that they don't know this. And so the middle 80% is just pretending, and so the middle 80% is just a bunch of actors playing these fake roles where they're pretending to have something to complain about, even though the middle 80% knows that no one has more of a right to be complaining about anything than the lowest 10%. The middle 80% knows this, but they continue to pretend, and everything is a big charade, okay? And the top 10% knows that the middle 80% is playing this big charade, and the middle 80% is pretending that they don't know that the lowest 10% are the ones that are truly getting fucked more than anyone else. And the top 10% knows all of this. They know that all you middle 80%ers are just pretending that you don't have the understanding and knowledge that the lowest 10% are the most oppressed motherfuckers. And that if anybody has a right to be complaining about anything, it's them, the lowest 10%. The top 10% knows all of this. And so the top 10% sees right through all of you people's bullshit. You're all a bunch of bullshitters, just like everyone else. It's all relative. And the top 10%, man, they use all this against you. They totally use all of this against you. They know that you are all full of shit. Here's some other things as far as intel. The top 10% knows this as well, that if the middle 80% got the wealth, then the middle 80% would just become the new top 10%. The middle 80% are look, you get the middle 80%, right? Let's say you get 15% of the middle 80% that takes over the top 10%. Well, they're just going to be doing the same thing as the previous regime. See, these people are not stupid. And the strategy of the middle 80% is to act like the top 10% is stupid. The strategy of the middle 80% is for the middle 80% to just believe their own lies and pretend and put on the charades and theatrics, which is what the top 10% does. It's all pretense and charades and theatrics. Well, the middle 80% is doing the same thing and thinking that they're gonna win the game. Well, these guys, they're the ones who enforce all the rules of the game. So how would the middle 80% be able to beat them at their own game when the top 10% are the ones that make all the rules and enforce all the laws? You middle 80%ers aren't going anywhere except for gradually more and more to the lowest 10%. That's all. And this is the other thing that's awesome. So, okay, you have the middle 80%, right? Well, let's say like the lowest part of the middle 80% is getting forced into the lowest 10%. Is the middle 80% reaching to help them and grab them and pull them up? Not at all. They don't care. The middle 80% doesn't care when a faction of them starts getting forced into the lowest 10%. They just are like, oh, well, that's just collateral damage. Everybody just keep, pulling levers and pushing buttons. Or eventually we're going to get our justice. We're going to get our cake and eat it too. Don't just, oh, well, it sucks. Yeah, Hurricane Helene came and forced a faction of the middle 80% into the lowest 10%. And, oh, well, that's HARP did that. HARP did that, you guys. It's the evil 10%. Like, they don't care to help. Like if the middle 80%ers start to see their own middle 80% start falling into the lowest 10, they don't do anything to help. They just keep up everything. The game just keeps going on and on. Oh, well, the top 10%ers are at it again, you guys. But they don't do anything to help their own people. The middle 80%, as soon as anybody crosses the threshold from middle 80% into the lowest 10%, they're immediately forgotten. And they're immediately categorized as just another EBT cookie-eating fucking poopy poop that's stealing our bicycles. That's it. As soon as anyone in the 80% crosses the threshold into the lowest 10%, they're automatically just another poopy poop that steals bicycles and smokes crack and is lazy, mentally ill. And see, again, going back to giving you intelligence, the top 10% knows all this. The top 10% knows that they can drive like 5 or 10% of the middle 80 into the lowest 10, and that none of the middle 80% are ever going to care. And the reason the middle 80%ers don't care is because the middle 80%ers, it's all about selfishness. I'm the important middle 80%er, so that I don't have to care if like 5 or 10% of the 80% get forced into the lowest 10. I don't have to care because I'm important. I'm one of the middle 80%. And the top 10% knows all this. They know exactly, going back to what I mentioned about Bernays, where Bernays said that there's a very small group of people up at the top that are extremely advanced in the psychology of the mind and how the mind works. And this small group of people that are highly advanced in the psychology of the mind and how the mind works control everyone through fashion and trends. Fashion and trends. Which is the most fashionable thing to be? A lowest 10%er, a middle 80%er, or a top 10%er? Which is the most fashionable? Well, let's look at it. Again, you got to think of it in terms of thirds, top 10, middle 80, lowest 10. Which is the most fashionable to be? A lowest 10%, a middle 80%, or a top 10%? Which is the most fashionable? Well, let's look at the top 10%. Who are they? Those are all the evil Jews and the evil Bill Gateses and the evil, so it's not fashionable in a general way to be a top 10%er because you're just another Fauci, Bill Gates, Trump, Joe Biden, it's not fashionable. Everyone is controlled through fashion and trends. So what's the talk of the town every day, all day, nonstop, 24/7? Is the evil top 10%ers are fucking everybody with the scamdemic. Well, so it's not fashionable to be in the top 10%. Well, now let's look at the lowest 10%. What's the word? It's not fashionable to be in the lowest 10%. They got poop coming out of their fucking mouth all day. You see them eat poop. When they poop, they're poopy. Everything is poop with the lowest. So it's not fashionable to be in the lowest. What's fashionable? To be in the middle 80%. Why? Well, because the middle 80% are the salt of the earth. They're the innocent, hardworking people that are just innocent victims of the top 10% and the lowest 10%. Everyone is controlled through fashion and trends. Fashion and trends. What happens when a large percentage of the middle 80% all start wearing pink Carhartt overalls? What happens? Well, all the other 80%ers start to notice. And then next thing you know, they're running to Walmart to buy their pink Carhartt overalls. And then next thing you know, like the majority of the middle 80% are all walking around wearing, pink overall Carhartts. And what are they talking about? The evil Jews, it's the Jews, it's the Faucis, it's the Bill Gates, it's the Trumps, it's the Bidens, it's the Rothschilds. And when they're not talking about that, what are they talking about? EBT! Whatever, guys. I mean, whatever.